Okay, on the top left, I see the recording sign and that we are already live on Facebook. So we shall begin this dialogue session. Uh, Good morning, everyone in Singapore, and good evening to Director Paul McGowan. I'm Boon Kim, one of the organizers of this Buddhist Film Festival. This year's edition of the film festival is a hybrid one. So some of you may have caught the films online with the Cystic Pass. Some of you may have been at the Shaw Lido theaters to catch the movies. So for those of you who have caught this movie, Wandering But Not Lost, you may have caught it last weekend or you may have caught it yesterday evening. So today we are very honored to have with us director for this film, director Paul McGowan. So Wandering But Not Lost, if you have watched it, is an intimate account of Rinpoche Mingyur's 4.5 years retreat in Nepal and India. So it covers the whole journey where he walked away from his life on the international stage to live that of a wandering yogi. Right. So maybe I'll get the director to say a few words to the audience first. Right. So for Paul, do you have any words of greetings for the audience?
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I hope you enjoyed the film, and I look forward to discussing it. I'd like to hear your questions too.
Right. Thank you, Paul. Right. So Paul has this is not the first film that Paul has worked with Mingyur Rinpoche. So earlier on, he has also produced this film called A Joyful Mind, where he has worked with Rinpoche, and this film is actually uh, is viewable on YouTube. So for those who are interested, you can take a look. So my first question to Paul would be, how do you get to know of Tibetan Buddhist meditation master Mingyur Rinpoche in the first place? And why is the connection so strong between Paul and Rinpoche that you have decided to make two films with him?
Yeah, so I've been interested in Buddhism for many, many years, since I was a teenager, actually, um, and was very interested in meditation and early on got interested in Tibetan Buddhism. And I actually went to Kathmandu in 1983. I took some time off from university to go travel around Asia and absolutely loved it. And about 2008, I had a teacher in Kathmandu, which is actually Mingyur Rinpoche's brother, and I was volunteering to do some video work with him. And actually, he didn't need help. He already had a team of video producers, so he didn't need me. But a friend said she was working with this wonderful young lama who was really great, a great teacher, and had a great sense of humor, and asked me if I would help them film some of his teachings. And I said, of course, I would love to. So there was a great opportunity when he came to the U.S. And I started filming with him, and immediately I felt this connection. He put me at ease. I can be very intense when I'm working. And I just remember getting started. I was the first one to arrive and at this place. Nobody else was there yet. And then I bumped into Mingyur Rinpoche. And it was a very nice meeting. And I just, within, a day or two, I realized that he is my teacher. And we just became, closer over the years. That was over 10 years ago. And so I lived in Kathmandu for 4 years since then, and was filming with him and traveling a lot with him while I was working. This was after he came out of retreat. I was actually on my way to Kathmandu to live there, and Rinpoche wasn't back yet out of retreat. And I thought, oh, it's time for him to come back. It'd been almost 4.5 years at this point. So I was on my way over there when we got the word that Rinpoche had returned. And I told him that I just wanted to work with him. So while I was making this film, Wandering But Not Lost, I was living in Kathmandu and traveling with Rinpoche all over Asia, filming his teachings.
Right. Thank you, Paul. So on your website, you mentioned that you managed to approach Rinpoche when he was back from his 4.5 year retreat. And you said that, you had mentally expected him to fully decline your idea of making a movie about his retreat. I mean, why do you expect him to decline your idea?
When he first returned from retreat, I had just finished A Joyful Mind, which took me 6 years. So I was not ready to just jump into another film project at that time. And I was just so excited to see him back. And then I traveled with him for a few weeks, and these stories were coming out. And I was like, wow, these are great stories. I mean, this could be a film. And then a nun friend said to me, she overheard a conversation where somebody had asked Rinpoche if they could write a book about his retreat. And he said, maybe in 10 years. So I was really disappointed. But I thought, I've got to ask him anyway. I've got to see what he says. And then I took a couple of days to think about what it would be. And so I approached him and I said, Rinpoche, many of these people wouldn't know what it's like in India and Nepal, where these places are. These stories have been so inspiring to people. And he kind of knew that because he was giving teachings right away as soon as he came back. He was teaching and he was incorporating these stories into his teaching. So I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, nope, good idea. Let's do it, And so, but also there's a bit of a taboo. And I know Tibetan Buddhism better than other branches of Buddhism, but there's a bit of a taboo talking too much about your experience as if you're trying to promote yourself. And Rinpoche is a very, very humble person. I mean, he wants to teach, he wants to help people, but he is not self-promoting. And it's one of the things I really appreciate about him so much. So I was kind of a little concerned about that. So I felt like I had to, sell him on the idea a little bit, and that it would really be beneficial for people to hear these stories.
So along the way, everything was filmed based on Rinpoche's memory. So you were saying that because 4.5 years is, I think to me, I find it quite a long time. So did he, readily recall every single thing at every location? Or did he have a notebook somewhere where he jotted down where he gained the most insight?
That's a really great question. You've done your research um, because Mingyur Rinpoche's memory is extremely clear and sharp, but there were times when he was vague about some details. And so the interviews that I did for the film, I lost track. There were 10, 11, 12 interviews I did over a period of years as things were, information was coming out and I would want to interview him again to get more detail. But he was kind of vague on some things. And I knew he wasn't holding back. He was very forthcoming. So he wasn't holding back. But I realized it was just because, yeah, he didn't take notes. He was practicing. This was a retreat for him. So he wasn't like, oh, like we would do on vacation, I spent so much time here and then I went here and then I did this and then I did that. So that wasn't on his mind so much. So it took time for him to recall certain details because, as you say, 4.5 years is a long time. Many, many things happened. And it took some time for him to remember these things. But I just thought it was interesting for me to realize that these details, the village he was in, how long he was there, were just not important to him.
So right now I'm looking at the Facebook comments. We have audience saying that they enjoy your show very much. Thank you so much for making the documentary. It's an awesome documentary.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I thought I could share with you, uh, in a live manner. So we mentioned a bit about your first movie, Joyful Mind, just now. So it was also a documentary, but it's quite a different nature, right? It was an kind of an exposition on mindfulness and meditation. And when you compare it to Wandering But Not Lost, one was shot mainly indoors, and this was shot mainly on the go at many different locations. So, as a director for you, what was the learning experience or the differences you felt between making these two films?
Yeah, two completely different films. The way I describe A Joyful Mind is that it's actually an instructional video shot in documentary style. You know, there's less of a storyline in it. It's to present certain aspects of the benefits of meditation, why it might be a good practice for people to undertake, and some basic concepts about what meditation is. And meditation is a vast, vast subject. There are many kinds of meditation. There's a neuroscientist here that's actually a student of Mingyur Rinpoche's, famous neuroscientist. He says using the word meditation is like using the word sports, because there's so many different types. So I found Joyful Mind very challenging to present this in a really genuine way. And it's all based on Mingyur Rinpoche's teachings of meditation, the way he likes to teach, because at least here in the West, we have a lot of misconceptions about what meditation is, because so many companies are trying to sell us something, a CD or something to help us, feel better, and so many people are looking for that and, want to improve their lives. And so we're sold things, and they do it dishonestly, frankly, So one of the things I wanted to show what meditation really is, based on Mingyur Rinpoche's style of teaching, which is very fresh. He has a bit of a unique way of presenting it. So I thought that was really important and really tough. I wanted to use many different voices. Over 40 people are in the film, and it was very difficult to take their words and put it into a cohesive message that I thought would be helpful. Because, of course, everybody comes to meditation or, spiritual practice from many different paths, They come to it for different reasons. And so I wanted to kind of bring that out and show that. And then Wandering But Not Lost, I thought it was going to be a lot easier in a way because the storyline is so much clearer, but there were other challenges, travel and filming in these quite challenging locations, which I absolutely love being in the mountains, in the Himalayas. I'm a hiker. I'm in the mountains now here in the north of Boston. I absolutely love being in the mountains, and so that was inspiring. These locations were very inspiring, I have to say.
For those of you wondering, where is Paul based now exactly? So I think he's at a retreat center where he volunteers at in North Boston.
Yeah, yeah, in north of
Right.
Boston, about an hour and a half north of Boston. I'm so because you asked, I've been on a wandering retreat myself, but I mean, I'm not begging on the street. I don't want to compare. And I've joked about this with Rinpoche, and he said, "Oh yes, yes, you're a wandering yogi," because I've kind of been traveling so much and not really having a home. And it's been a very interesting practice because you deal kind of spontaneously and with this kind of sense of adventure. And a sense of openness is really important to wherever I am. And this has been for about 6 years. Um, so since I kind of packed up my life here, and then I was living in Kathmandu and traveling all over Asia for about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, and then back here, but not in staying in any one place. So I don't want to say I'm dealing with the hardships at all, that Rinpoche was dealing with. I'm not sleeping outside, and begging, as I said. So, but it's just this sense of, not getting too comfortable, kind of out of my comfort zone. I mean, you get comfortable and then it's time to go on to the next place. And I'm doing things that are meaningful for me, these different projects, smaller projects. Um, so that's what I'm doing, but I find a nice place. And then for some reason, I mean, there've been temporary places. So I'm staying I was in a south of Boston on an island, but my friend said I could rent that place for just 4 months. So I'm there and then I'm moving on to the next place. And so it's a little bit complicated, but I hope that makes sense.
Sounds like an exciting life. I hope you can write a book and share with us about your
Yeah.
life experiences. I see a question in the chat box. For the audience here, if you have any questions you'd like to pose to Director Paul, you can feel free to leave your questions on the Facebook comment section, or if you're in the Zoom session, then leave it in the chat box. Question is, what was the most memorable moment during the filming and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. There were many, many memorable moments. It was absolutely for some of the reasons I've mentioned, these traveling and overcoming these challenges and being around Rinpoche so much and um, working in these challenging environments, but being with him, everything he's always at ease. And this is something I've struggled with personally. As I said, it can be very intense when I'm working, especially because I know all the things that can go wrong, and I'm traveling with thousands of dollars worth of equipment, trying to navigate through India and Nepal. And so this was a very transformative experience for me, just letting go. Rinpoche has this saying, became a mantra for me. Try your best and let go of the result. So don't hold on too tightly to the result, but try your best. And I realized this is all I can do, is just do my best. But to answer that question directly, there was an absolutely amazing time when I knew I needed to get Rinpoche in the mountains, for the film. I mean, that was, and he's very accommodating for me. He was very, made himself available and, what do you need? But his schedule was crazy. I mean, he's teaching, he's traveling all the time and very busy. And he loves also hiking and being in the mountains. But there was no time to trek. So I had one generous Hong Kong sponsor who paid for a helicopter to go. And we spent 4 days in the mountains with Rinpoche. And so the whole time was kind of memorable, flying out of Kathmandu and you get to the mountains and the whole experience is kind of surreal because it's like going into the past, like several hundred years into the past when you go into the mountains of Nepal. But if you're hiking, you get a little bit of time to ease into that experience. When a helicopter, you're up in the mountains in 1 hour. And all of a sudden you're in a different place. It used to be places with no electricity. Now there's more and more electricity. Think, for an example, but there was this one place, and it's in the film, the Langtang Cave, the Padmasambhava Cave in Langtang at 13,000 feet. And it was an absolutely perfect day, like just spectacular day. And to be there with Rinpoche, you could tell he was very happy to be there and kind of thinking about his past and talking with him and getting these shots of him, walking around this place where he spent several months in retreat was really the most memorable time for me.
Thank you, Paul. I'm sure those who caught the movie in the cinema, you'll be able to take in the spectacular shots of the uh, mountain scenes, right? And we enjoyed it. I see more comments in the chat box. There's a Talk Ling who mentioned that the magical quality of Rinpoche about, how when he speaks about his experience taking the train, right, he manages to bring about a lesson on awareness as well, despite it being such a routine thing about taking the train.
Yeah, it's so this is that's a great question. And Rinpoche is all about practice. So he's always applying practice. And he says you can apply practice to every situation, which basically means you're bringing awareness to every situation. The essence, he says over and over, the essence of meditation is awareness. So you're bringing your awareness of your body, awareness of what's going on in your mind. And for those who saw a joyful mind and know his past, as a child, he had panic attacks. And he's very open. And one of the things I really appreciate about him is that he's very open talking about his panic attacks. And here, this time of being in the train, it was so difficult for him. And it's kind of, you wonder why. But we have to think this was, June in India, in going from Bodh Gaya to Varanasi. It was very, very hot, as he says. And I don't think it's, hot and there's not much air and it's smelly, it's a bit dirty. And he had never traveled like this. And I think he was feeling very vulnerable after he, left his monastery, kind of escaping. And it was his first time on his own. And so I think, and um, and he's bringing his full awareness to this and working with it. And I think it was a very fruitful time for him, very rich time. There was a lot of going on. And in Tibetan Buddhism, you actually, and this is very relevant to this wandering retreat, you want to stir things up, kind of, because we can get complacent and we're just looking for peace and stability. And that's not really, and that's fine, but it's not really going to help us grow and further ourselves on the path. So every once in a while, we need to stir things up and do things differently. And that's why this wandering retreat can be such a rich time and fruitful time, because it's so much change, and you're trying to you learn to be resilient and kind of not bothered by the little things. And so here he is, just in the first night, the first hours of being out on his own, and he's very challenged. And then, within the first month, a few weeks later, he almost dies. So, and then he's kind of found this peace, but he had to go through those really difficult times to come out the other end and grow in this way.
Yeah, so I can parrot what you said on your own website, that the profound message of the movie is that we need to shake up our life and, in a sense, turn it upside down in order to see behind the surface of our day-to-day struggles and to confront and absorb the deepest, most enriching lessons of life. So related to this, I have a question here about the idea of being adventurous, right? So Passion asks, what do you think about applying the quality of being adventurous in our practice?
Yeah, that's an absolutely wonderful question. So, as I was saying, I think, and because I'm this been a meditator for a long time, so I know about this. I think everybody goes through this where we just want, this sense of peace and a little more ease. And like I said, that's absolutely fine, but that can also be dullness, you know, and that we're not really growing, we're not really challenging ourselves in those moments. And so this is it's kind of like the idea that the only way out is to go through. So we can't avoid. A lot of us want to do meditation, and I was certainly one, to meditate to avoid certain uncomfortable feelings, certain uncomfortable situations, anxiety that I had, or whatever. But avoiding it really only makes it stronger. So this idea of this adventurous state of mind, I call it the mind, the attitude of the wandering yogi, being really open in the sense that there's nothing to protect. This might be a little hard to grasp, but if you go into it and you open yourself up, um, a famous Rinpoche once said, "It's kind of like we're falling out of an airplane. The bad news is, it's like we're falling out of an airplane without a parachute. The good news is there's no ground to hit, to land on." So if we can let go and open ourselves up to that level, we overcome fear. We've gone through our fear and our anxiety, and we realize there's nothing to fear. But just to say those words, we're not going to get there. We have to actually, experientially do it and go through it. So this idea of being adventurous, Rinpoche says, we can learn with every breath, and we can learn until our last breath. So to be open, learning, adventurous, realizing each moment is fresh and new. And this is what we don't realize if we're in a state of dullness or we're in a state of, our daily lives just seem so mundane, and we're just doing the same things over and over and over again. And then we need to stir up our lives or realize that every moment is fresh, and to meet it with this attitude and with a certain energy. And I hope that makes sense. And it's also, what advice would you give to a 20-year-old now? Thank you for asking, because I think I would say start with a daily practice of meditation. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 10 minutes, but do it daily. Preferably in the morning. I think it's a little bit easier to start with this practice first thing in the morning and have it set up so that's what you do. And it's the same time of day. So if morning isn't convenient, but try to make it the same time of day. And then I think you'd find you might want to extend that over time. And then I think this can really benefit your life. It's habits. You learn from this so much about yourself that applies to other aspects of your life. So, you can be in business, you could be in anything, you could be in education, you could be doing it and these things help you. It helps you work with people. It helps you to communicate, so it can help you in many, many ways in your daily life, this type of practice.
Thank you for advice, Paul. So I see the time now is already 9:30, so maybe we can wrap up with last question. So, do you have any upcoming film projects? And would you like to share with us?
Yeah, so it took me 11 years to make two films, so I'm not ready to just jump into another film project right now. But what I am working on is an exhibit, or what we call an installation, multimedia installation based on the film. So it's like a companion to the film, but it's more immersive. And because of COVID, I've actually done this online. I've started to do it, and there's a little taste of it on the website. So at a joyfulmind.com, you can see what I'm thinking. So it's this multimedia experience, and I'm hoping to get this again, this attitude of the wandering yogi and how people can bring it in to their daily lives. Because Mingyur Rinpoche is not suggesting this is the practice that we should all be doing. He knows that's unrealistic, to live on the street for 4.5 years like he did. But we can practice in this way, in this more adventurous way, to whatever our daily lives are. And we can become more awake, right? The Buddha means awake, the one who was awake. And so we can be more awake in our daily lives. And I would like to say, too, if anybody has any questions or comments and they'd like to contact me personally, my email address is on the website, and I'd love to hear from you. It'd be a real pleasure.
Right. Thank you so much, Paul, for being with us, today. And even though it's a 12-hour time difference, we managed to make this thing happen. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for this dialogue. You not just share with us your experience as a filmmaker, but along the way in the questions, you're also dispensing really good advice related to practice. So thank you so much, Director Paul. Right, to the audience, we do have more live dialogue sessions this morning. So please, if you would like to attend the live dialogue sessions, you may remain in this chat. As you can see, at 10 a.m., we have the directors of Guru in Disgrace, and at 11 a.m., we do have the director Shannon Harvey of My Year of Living Mindfully. So we hope you can tune in, especially if you have caught these shows. Lastly, on behalf of this Buddhist Film Festival 2021, we would like to thank Director Paul once again for joining us today and for making this film. We wish you good health and good conditions to work on more films in the near future. Right, thank
Thank,
you and have a good day ahead, everyone.
thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.